Guys? Hello? Marcin? Anyone? Francois? Howie? Dick? Is anyone here? All right, well, I guess we'll just practice my little intro here that I've been working on for my little reel. Live here on Channel 10 News, the nipple strangler known as Howie has been caught. Marcin, the producer... Oh, I guess we're starting the World of Esports. Esports, prize money, cheaters, great stuff. I'm Jason Kaplan, and welcome back to the World of Esports. In this week's show, we'll be covering a couple of different topics for you. We'll be looking at the ESL CSGO Pro League and how Stage 1 finished off, and how Stage 2 will be beginning just this week. We'll also look at a rising problem within esports. I guess the best term to say for it, as we're on like our fifth take of the shot, is cheating in esports. We'll be looking at how it's been done in the past and some famous moments you guys have remembered as well. And we'll be looking to our second rendition or second episode, whatever you want to call it here, of the history of esports as we kick things off now in the early 2000s. And then we'll be ending things off with a look at the Renegades boot camp. And if you saw how they did in Sydney, they probably should have spent more time practicing and less time playing at the arcades. But anyways, guys, let's kick off the World of Esports. So even though Sydney is now done and dusted over for IEM, it's not like the CS train is going to be stopping anytime soon. We've got, the Pro League still happening, where Stage 1 just finished off, and Stage 2 is going to be kicking off this week. So we had a chance, actually, to recap what happened in Stage 1 to see the teams who got through to the finals, the teams who are relegated, and of course, the teams who are still fighting for their chance to make it to France.
The second stage of the 9th season of the ESL Pro League is just about to start. That's why it's probably a good idea to take a look at how it all went down, especially with all the changes introduced in the latest season. So let's jump right into it, shall we? And have a look at Europe, where Astralis, FaZe Clan, G2 Esports, and the updated Mousesports roster made it through to the finals pretty much without breaking a sweat, and with a 3-0 record to boot.
Dupree dinks down Tizzy and finishes off the job, and no copies on the site as well. Same story for Dupree, who is just lights out on the A site, making money from the bank, and Astralis are pissed around under their wing as they take that first of this third and final map for the night.
Too bad that Na'Vi and Fnatic still have to fight through the second stage, but with the latter showing all of us a great performance during IEM Sydney, it's quite certain that they too will make it to the finals in Montpellier. But where one team triumphs, others have to say goodbye, just like another Swedish team, Ninjas in Pajamas, who unfortunately lost to both FaZe Clan and the X-Devils 1 squad.
First AK buy-in, they're going to make it nice and quick with the B-Rush.
Yeah, these nades already finding a lot of damage. Olaf, good night. And Dennis, he falls as well. Olaf rolling in money, rolling in dough, and another round for FaZe, but now we get to see the buy from Nip.
Looking across the pond, the North American ESL Pro League also didn't see many surprises, with NRG Esports, Luminosity Gaming, and Team Liquid taking first spots in their groups. And even though they've already secured their final spots, the second stage of the American region will surely see some tough battles, especially when you consider the current disposition of MIBR and the likes of Cloud9 and Renegades, all of whom do not want to lose their second chance for a trip to France. But there's one more team that surely could be an interesting one to watch, and that team is Daytona Gaming, a team that's not quite known on the international stage and who basically plowed through the Latin American group and made it into the finals with a 3-0 balance. We probably won't surprise you if we said that the Oceanic region also didn't see too much of a turmoil. Chiefs and Greyhound Gaming, two dominant forces when it comes to Australian CSGO, conquered their group, but as there can only be one Oceanic team in the finals, they still need to fight with Order and Athletico Esports in round 2.
Dexter with the bomb needs to get a wriggle on here. Dick Stacey this time can't manage the heroics on the A site that he did last time, but Dexter with an incredible spray transfer puts it into a 1v1 and he's going to win it for Greyhound. How on earth has Dexter done that?
The same goes for Tyloo and MVP PK from the Asian region. Despite doing well during the first stage, they will now have to face Lucid Dream and Alpha Red in the second stage in hopes of filling that one spot for the Asian region in Montpellier. There's still much to be seen in Stage 2 of the ESL Pro League Season 9, and to wrap it all up, here's a quick peek at how the groups will look.
So I'm struggling with the game here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time. I think I figured out a way to cheat the system by removing this dipolar device. I don't know, I don't sound like I actually know what I'm talking about. But what I did just do was obviously alert everyone because I dropped the key to this. But what I figured out was how to unlock unlimited lives here and cheat my way into finally beating Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time because I struggle with this game. But cheating is something that happens a lot in esports. It's becoming more prolific as time goes on because people are figuring out more unique ways to somehow win the big bucks. We're gonna be taking a look at ways people have done it in the past and of course some big moments that you all are gonna recognize.
Admit it. At some point in your gaming career, you thought about or even used cheats. Cheating has been present in gaming since the very beginning, and it's not a surprise that this shady practice has also transitioned into esports. Back in the days, game designers would put special lines of code into games in order to skip levels, spawn certain items, and generally test the game's functionality. But gamers wouldn't be gamers without cracking these codes and using them for their own advantage. That's why in time, game designers stopped bothering about taking them out before release, like the famous Konami code, even going so far as deliberately adding cheat codes, seeing that they simply made their products more interesting. Just like the code that enabled gore in Mortal Kombat. But by the time the internet came around, the times of writing down our GTA tank codes on a piece of paper came to an end, and the cheats themselves, well, they became much more sophisticated than just making your sim filthy rich overnight. Aimbots, wall hacks, programs that unlocked in-game features, currency miners, you name it. Demand for programs giving unfair advantages in games is high, and also makes their creators earn quite a bit of cash, as most of these 100% foolproof undetected hacks need to be bought. Okay, but back to esports. It's quite obvious that sometimes when you want to stay at the very top, you reach for the means that could get you and your team into a lot of trouble. But despite the looming threat of ruining their gaming careers, a few players still take that risk. One of the most notable examples is Nikhil Forsaken Kumawat, who used to play for the Indian Optic Gaming roster. Forsaken was caught red-handed during the Extremes LAN 2018 Asia Finals after being flagged for suspicious behavior. And as admins tried to check his PC, he hesitantly tried to delete the program he was using. Long story short, Optic India was immediately disqualified and Forsaken himself was kicked from the team. It might have looked crazy, but Forsaken is not the first player to have joined a long list of punished pros. But luckily, using third-party programs is a rare sight in professional esports. However, that does not mean that players don't get creative in their ways of gaining the upper hand. During the 2012 League of Legends World Championship, a member of Azubu Frost, Woong, glanced over the big screen above the enemy team to check their minimap and positions, and because of that, his team was later fined $30,000. Another interesting and classic method of cheating involves marking your cards. This happened during Magic the Gathering's Mythic Championship 2 in London. Yuya Watanabe, Hall of Famer and one of the most decorated MTG players of recent years, was disqualified from the tournament after judges spotted unusual markings on the sleeves of his cards.
During a deck check in round 15 at Mythic Championship 2, the judge staff noticed an issue with Yuya Watanabe's deck, where the sleeves of his Urza's power plants were marked in a specific way.
Later investigation proved Watanabe guilty and not only compromised his career, but also created an outrage within the community. Moving forward, in a world of so many games being played on a daily basis, sometimes someone will get the idea to just skip that whole competition nonsense and choose the easy way with fixing matches. Scandals like this happen in most games, but one of the worst was probably that involving StarCraft and Lee Life Sung-hyun. Named one of the best players in history, in 2016, Life was arrested after an investigation carried out by the Korean Esports Association and later sentenced to 18 months in prison, together with a 3-year suspension and a 70 million won fine. That's $64,000 in US currency, and a lifetime ban from any KESPA events. That's the price he had to pay for being involved in a match-fixing scandal that erupted a year earlier, where Life was proven to be paid for losing matches on purpose in order to later get the money from the bets. What a fall. So as you can see, cheating is never the way to go. Tournament organizers and game developers are working hard to crack down on these behaviors, but even though such scandals are a rarity, there will always be someone who will try to play dirty. Don't be like them. Play fair.
So with Sydney done and dusted and finished off, we actually had our guys down there doing some work at a pool with a laptop, watching the new Game of Thrones episode with a margarita in their hand, sending emails that I couldn't possibly read because they were too drunk to do so, but they did get to catch up with the Renegade guys and see what they were doing during the boot camp.
Hey, this is Azza.
I'm Liaz.
And we're from the CSGO Renegades team, and this is how we prepare for big tournaments.
3 versus 1 now. Liaz to try and pull things back. He gets his skill on stack. He's back into it. Zine with the M4 and armor, but it's not enough. Liaz.
First off, aim training. At the top level, you always got to make sure that your aim's on point all the time because you got to make the important kills that can change the round completely.
We've also got nade training. Nades are really important in top level CS, and this is how we crack them.
Last exercise, you got to make sure that everyone's on the same wavelength. You got to make sure the teamwork is at a top level. You good at teamwork, aim, grenades, and yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta get those arcade hours in.
Yeah, nice. You gotta get the. You said like 3 words. Yeah.
So let's kick off the news section by talking about a big surprise coming from the Blast Pro Series in Madrid, where ENCE defeated Astralis 2-0 in the tournament's finals. Now the Finns have a lot to be proud of because apart from taking down the #1 team in the world, they've also broken that streak on Nuke that they had, which lasted over a year, and of course got the revenge for the Katowice Majors final and also earned a whopping $125,000. You're probably aware that the International is the biggest Dota 2 event during the year, and if you don't, you're probably living under a rock. And you're probably also aware that most of its prize money comes from crowdfunding. Well, this year, of course, has been no exception, as well as last week's Battle Pass was introduced. And so far, it's been going really well, as the fans have been able to raise just $6 million in 24 hours. What's more, according to the Dota 2 prize track, Battle Pass sales raised over 10 million in less than 4 days, when last year it happened after 12. These figures clearly show that the TI9 is probably going to get another record-breaking event. Spencer Hiko Martin is no longer a member of Rogue, as he announced last Friday. His contract with the American organization has elapsed, therefore he's become a free agent, leaving Rogue after almost 2 years. Now, after playing for 12 different teams and 7 years of experience under his belt, Hiko is now seeking a new CSGO team, but so far hasn't made any official statements. Now, Hiko, I'll shoot you my PayPal here after the show for my payment. FaZe Clan might soon be acquiring a new player, Filip Neo Kupski. A former Virtus Pro member could potentially fill Adren's space, according to rumors that recently had been flooding the internet. One of such rumors was published by Don Hasey on Twitter, but not many people took it seriously. However, Neo was later spotted playing on the official FaZe server together with other team members and even YNK, FaZe's coach, which led many to believe that a big announcement is coming up. All right, you see Spirit Breaker, this is where things got started off. This was the original esports. You had people playing Donkey Kong, playing Pac-Man, not competing for money, but competing for a high score, not spoiled brats like these days, only winning millions of dollars to play. You have to pay some homage. Yeah, it doesn't look amazing. The graphics are kind of outdated nowadays, but this is where your history got started and you have to pay attention to it. And thinking back, we did a couple months ago do the history of esports, the first version, which came up to This is why no one picks you in any tournaments right now. Oh my God. Where are we even going with this? Yeah, so this is how it gets started. In 2000, we're actually gonna pick it back up now with our second edition of the history of esports.
Remember how we told you about the humble beginnings of esports and how competitive gaming grew in the 90s? Well, now it's time to show you guys what happened when the 21st century kicked in, and what a time it was for esports. Anyway, the modern esports as we know it today began its journey in South Korea. A financial crisis that struck Asia in 1997 caused many people to lose their jobs, and many young adults struggled to find something to do. That's why they spent most of their time playing video games in internet cafes, commonly known as PC bangs. And it probably won't be a surprise that when StarCraft Brood War came around, its popularity exploded. StarCraft became almost a religion in South Korea, with the best players being treated as celebrities, and around 4 million viewers tuning in 6 days a week to watch StarCraft tournaments. This rapid growth of the industry meant that it had to be regulated, and soon the Korean Esports Association was born, with the main purpose being to control and promote virtual sports. Of course, Korea wasn't the only place where competitive gaming boomed in the early 2000s. In Europe, for example, the Deutsche Clan-Liga was gaining popularity, and in the year 2000 was transformed into the Electronic Sports League, which apart from gaming leagues offered server rentals and even published its own gaming magazine. And soon the number of esports viewers basically surpassed all expectations. But even though the numbers kept growing, there were still some obstacles when it came to watching the tournaments. You see, during the first decade of the 21st century, the main cost of the tournament organizers had to face was live broadcasting. Luckily, as time went on and internet connections were better, streaming became something everyone could use. You know where we're going with this, right? Twitch.tv opened in 2011, where Twitch was a platform where everyone could show their games live. And when you add the release of StarCraft 2, which came out around the same time, the success of Twitch was almost guaranteed. But just how big was it? Well, let's just say that in 2013, its users watched 12 million hours of broadcast. Of course, you can count the launch of Twitch as one of the biggest milestones for modern esports, but you also cannot forget about the vast amounts of leagues and tournaments that emerged in the early 2000s, with the World Cyber Games, Intel Extreme Masters, and Major League Gaming leading the way. Because of that, the number of official esports tournaments skyrocketed, and I'm sure that you're aware that there was also a time when the main esports titles were released.
But they've already gone on top of the Terrorblade instead! So it's Brewmaster, and that's it!
Obviously, with a popularity like this, even the media began changing their view on video games, gradually going from this.
I don't get that. To me, watching another person play video games is like going to a restaurant and having someone eat your food for you. Just if you like them, play them. But I guess I'm getting old.
To openly broadcasting esports events. They even surpassed traditional sporting events at some points. All of this meant that when the 2010s kicked in, esports solidified its place as a major industry, with more sponsors joining the party and educational institutions giving scholarships for talented players, together with opening esports-related fields of study. Even governments started viewing players as athletes. But even with all that money, viewers, and recognition, how far can esports actually go? Well, in this case, the sky is probably the limit. Some say that esports will soon join the Olympics, but that's a story for another time. For now, let's just say that we're here to stay.
We would like to start off our social media section with something that will probably go down as one of the best plays in PUBG's history. Now, this was at the Face It Major, and even though it wasn't so recent, it's still 100% worth watching.
Could go for the grenade. What's he gonna do? He's just sneaking up back behind it. Is this gonna be the turning point? Can Captain come up big? It's gonna land right up in their feet. Oh my God! Captain just destroyed 17 games.
And when it comes to CS, Alu posted a pretty emotional tweet after ENCE triumphed over Astralis in Madrid. And speaking of ENCE and Astralis, Ninjas in Pajamas will never forget the Dane streak on Nuke. And last but certainly not least, Astralis have recently announced their female roster. And I swear I have the most confused erection right now. Just like in most shows, whenever we do go to an event, we get to sit down with the team and play a little game, a little segment we like to call This or That, and this time we have MIBR.
I like CT side a lot. Maybe it's easier for the Alps to just keep holding the angles and waiting for the other players to come in.
I choose CT side because I like to hold the bomb sites that I hold. So I'm really comfortable. I like to create new stuff, and the bomb sites that I play allow it. So I would choose CT side.
I love streaming. I don't like playing on my own for a long time already. So streaming something and having the ability to speak to my fans and let them watch me play actually makes me more, it makes the game more meaningful to me. I like to play when people are watching me, so it's more fun.
For me, it's different. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I will love to stream. Sometimes I'm gonna be just, oh, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to, to show my game or whatever. So I like to play on my own. But if I have to choose one of these, I would choose play on my own. I think it's better.
USP all the way. Range combats, getting in the one taps, best feeling.
I would choose the USP, one tap, and that's it. I love it.
Nowadays I will go CSGO. Back on the days I prefer much more 1.6, but I recently tried to play 1.6 again. It looks awful. CSGO is much better right now.
CSGO, because I haven't played CS 1.6 and CS Source, so CSGO was my first game and the game that I love, and there's no way other game is better than CSGO.
Close games always bring the best. It's tough to lose those, but when you win the close games, it's the best feeling ever. Win easy games, I mean, it's important to win those, but you're always looking for the emotions, at least for me.
The best memories that I had in this game are from really close matches and close grand finals. So I'm going with the hard matches. I think it's hard wins. I think it's they are the best ones to have.
I will leave B side defense for Taco. I always play on the A sides normally. It's a very difficult task to hold B sides because normally you are playing alone by yourself and it's a whole different skill set to do it. And that's not the one I specialize myself the most at, so I prefer the A sides.
I have been playing the B bomb sites forever now, so those are my bomb sites. I feel like it's my bomb site, so I'm going 100% with the B bomb sites.
LAN, definitely LAN. That's where Counter-Strike belongs, and that's how we started competing in Brazil as well. We all started on LANs. Internet, for the noobs, for the newcomers. We are all too old for that.
LAN's much better than online. That's an easy one. I actually don't like playing online. I think it's bad.
I used to love the shotguns much more than I do right now. I was a very good Max 7 player in the past, but for some reason, I don't know if it was the updates or, I don't know, I felt very uncomfortable with it. And nowadays I would choose SMGs just because you can get multi-kills easily. But shotguns can be very strong if you play yourself correctly on those situations.
I'm going for the SMGs because I think you can move and shoot in the same time. So I think it makes life easier. That you can kill one and then move, kill the second one and then move again. And it also makes it harder for the opponent to to shoot on you.
Well, that's going to do it here for our episode of the World of Esports. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell to be notified about any videos we put here on our YouTube channel. Make sure to tweet to us with the hashtag World of Esports and let us know about any players, any games, any tournaments you'd like us to look into, as we will try our best to be doing just that. I'm Jason Kappa. Thanks for watching and well played.